Welcome to the Savvy Surgical Technologist. I'm your host, John Budd. Welcome back, everybody. I'm so excited to have you guys back. Um, as you guys know, last week was a rough episode for me, but I'm grateful to have gotten it done, and I hope that it impacted somebody. I hope that it touched somebody's life in a positive way. As my goal for this podcast is to show you guys and share a light onto my life in and outside of healthcare, and also the guests that I bring on their lives in and outside of healthcare to show you guys what goes on, and hopefully to give you guys some hope for the future, to show you that all things are possible through right behavior and making better decisions and stuff. As you know, I want this podcast to be so authentic. I want it to be real. I want it to resonate with you guys, not just the stories about what's going on inside of healthcare, but just in general, just in life. I want it to be an antidote. I want people to look at this podcast and come here and know that there's hope here, there's life here, there's love here. That's why I do this. Even when I don't want to, sometimes I get really, really tired. Emotionally tired. I got a lot going on. I'm trying to build my mom's store. I'm working. I'm doing so many things to get to the life that I want to lead. So sometimes I get tired and I get overwhelmed. I don't have a lot of the support that so many others have. I'm single. I don't have anybody in my ear pushing me to say that I can do things, and that's not a complaint. That's just the choices that life has brought me to. But just wanted to let you guys know that everything I do here is authentic. So again, I want to start the podcast off with a question from a follower. And I'm so grateful for the people who send me questions, because I'm always really surprised that I actually get questions sent in to me, because I'm young in this game. I'm just starting out. So, and again, some of the stuff that the questions that I get is from followers who've been with me for years and stuff, and I'm really grateful for that. But I'm always amazed when I get a question from somebody that I don't know. So the question of the day is, John, in your last episode of the Savvy Surgical Technologist, you mentioned that you once pulled someone out of a burning car. That she said that stopped her in her tracks. Can I elaborate on what happened and what led up to that moment and what was going through my mind when I made the decision to help the guy? I want to preface all of this stuff that with everything that I tell you guys on this podcast about my life and the things that went on in my life is true. I may throw a little hot sauce on it, to add a little embellishment or something like that. But all in all, the stories that I'm going to tell you guys in future episodes and in this episode are all true. I try not to lie. As a matter of fact, I don't lie. I keep my I try to keep everything honest and up to word. And I tell you guys the stories as I remember them. So that day was crazy, because it was funny, because I was actually going home. I think I was coming home from work. I was driving down 19th and 19th Street, headed towards Cheltenham Avenue in Philly. And it was like almost sundown, because the sun was halfway like coming down. So it was like dreary out. It was like getting dark. So I was driving my car and I heard all this screeching noise in front of me. Like I could see it in front of me. The noise was screeching like tires were spinning. And then I remember I looked up and I seen this car like spinning out of control. And it finally slammed into this wall, this big wall at somebody's house. Like in Philly, if you know 19th Street, they have all these walls where they built walls up to for their lawns. So instead of the lawn sloping down, they have a straight lawn with a big wall in front of it. I guess so they can barbecue and they can do all the things. It's like a platform or whatever. So the guy slammed into it. Boom. And I remember looking like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? And I pulled over my car. I jumped out. His car was literally on fire. Like I could see fire coming out from because the hood was popped up. And he was slumped over. He hit his head. I guess he hit his head. He was slumped over and onto the wheel. He was knocked out cold. And he was huge. He was huge, and as I'm looking, nobody else is there at that time. Like it's just me and this guy. No one is around to help me or to guide me or encourage me or anything. So I had to make the decision. I'm looking at the fire, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, if this car blow up, I'm gonna die too. Like, is it worth it? Like, I'm scared. I don't want to die, of course. Even though at those times in my life, I was probably screaming out for God to kill me. But that's another story for another day, and I promise I'll elaborate on those stories in the future. But for this particular day, I was like, I don't want to die. Like, am I gonna help this guy? What should I do? So I remember reaching into the car, and he had a seatbelt on. And I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying this guy was 200 to 300 pounds, and I'm little. And I'm looking again through the windshield as I'm in the car. I'm looking at the fire build up a little bit, and I'm worried, like, damn, if it hit the gas tank. But of course, the gas tank is in the back. But I don't know how those things work. I'm not an action hero. It just seems like I played one in real life. But so I finally got the seatbelt off him, and I'm trying to wake him up. I'm trying to wake him up so maybe he can help me, and he's not waking up. So I finally get my arms around him, and I'm struggling really, really bad to move this guy. It's like dead weight. That is really true about what they say about dead weight, that it's almost impossible to move by yourself. And again, I'm really nervous and I'm scared. So somehow, some way, I got him leaned out like on me. He fell on top of me, his back, and I'm grabbing him and I'm dragging him. Somehow I dragged him out. My hand, the God, source, the creator, whatever you guys want to call him. I don't know how I did it. I don't. But he ended up on me, and I dragged him out of the car, and I fell, and he fell on top of me, and he was heavy, like, oof. I remember how painful it was, and then help came. This guy was right behind me. He was like, come on, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you. And we dragged the guy and we pulled him far away from the car, and I could hear the ambulance coming. There was a lot of people around at that time and stuff like that. And I looked at him, I looked at the guy to make sure that he was okay, and I looked at the car. Then I jumped in my car and I left. Heroes don't stay on the scene. Heroes don't stick around for interviews or nothing like that. So, but that's a true story. I end up leaving the scene, and I went home, and I remember telling my mother, because my mother, that's the time when I was living with my mother. I told her, Mom, I just saved some guy's life. I literally pulled some guy out the car. And she laughed and asked me for the details, and I told her the details and stuff like that. It's just such an unbelievable story. So even so, to this day, I don't always believe that it really happened, but it happened. And that's just one of like 6 or 7 stories I literally have of physically saving people's lives. I also have a few stories about how I got about my bed. At one time I met a young lady who I used to party with her, and when I first met her, I seen the heaviness in her. Like, she had so much sadness. It was overwhelming. It's amazing how I seem to attract these kind of people into my life, but it was overwhelming. I guess it was meant for us to meet, because eventually I would save her life from suicide. One day in future podcasts, I'll tell you guys about that as well. But as you know, this podcast is about me, John Bud, the dominant one. Um, like I said, the stories that I want to tell you guys, especially the private ones, the personal ones that I'm going to share with you. To you guys, they're just stories, but to me, they were life altering things. They were real life. So a lot of the stuff that's entertaining you was painful for me as I lived it. So I just want to emphasize that stuff to you, and let you guys know that when I walk down memory lane, whether it's about my mother, who I will try to keep to a minimum in future, because I don't know that I can handle talking about her as much. But a lot of the stories that I'm going to tell you in the future real life, and they're real painful stories because of the challenges that I faced. And what I want to preface everything with is all of the things that I went through in my life were self-inflicted. They were self-inflicted. They were decisions that I made that led to bad outcomes. And while I was living those stories, while I was going through it, they seemed okay at the time. That's why I always emphasize to you guys that your decision making is important. That when you make better decisions, and when you plant good seeds and you water those seeds, and you don't go back to tear the seeds up to see if it's growing, your life will change. Your life will get better. And I'm living proof of it because I've done it. So, in terms of how I became the dominant one, there's this myth in the hood, there's this myth in the city, because a lot of people, I'm really well known for that name. That and my me wearing Timberland boots to work, which I rarely wear anymore. But I'm really well known. There's this rumor and this myth that I gave myself that name, and that's not true. I'm from Philly. We don't do stuff like that. Um, I didn't give myself that name. The name kind of fell on me. I guess partially I did, and I'll explain to y'all. So what happened is I was working at Fox Chase Cancer Center in Philadelphia at the time, and that's the hardest place I've ever had to work. It made me into a superior scrub tech. Every time I'm in a case and somebody say it's hard, I say it's not Fox Chase hard because there's levels. There's levels. These cases at Fox Chase Cancer Center were the hardest cases I've ever done in my career. I mean, I would be in a case from 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night with just one break in between. I mean, doing free flat 14, 15-hour whipples, liver resections, not transplants. I'm talking about resections where there's blood everywhere, where it's coming up to your knees and you're so scared and you're so worried about the patient. So these cases, they allowed me to cut my teeth, and they made me who I am today as a scrub. In a lot of ways, they helped me as a person too, because again, back then at those times when I was at Fox Chase, I was struggling a lot with my mental health and my alcoholism and the drinking and the partying and all the things that I was into. And I always tell you guys that I lived a double life. So I would party and then I would go to work. I never went to work under the influence, but I went to work sick sometimes. I went to work tired, dragging and stuff like that. And I'm not proud of that, but I did have a code and a core value not to go in there under any kind of influences or whatever. But I struggled at the time with my mental health. I told you guys about the 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I would be screaming out to God to kill me, to end this nonsense that I was going through, the struggle, the demon that I was fighting. He was whispering into my heart. He was so strong. And I had such a battle with him over the years. And at Fox Chase, I was really in the mix with that. But during the day, like when I would get there, I would always see, I would be in some of the tougher cases. And, I had good days where I went in lighter rooms. But a lot of times I was in very high acuity, very high volume cases where 3 or 4 surgeons at the same time. And it just was a tough place. Before I would start the case, like we would do our timeouts and stuff like that. And I would be like, after the timeout, I'd be like, let's dominate. Let's dominate. I would do those things to hype myself up for the case because I knew that it was going to be a long case. I knew it was going to be a long day. And sometimes, some of the surgeons, especially back then at those times, I didn't really care for. And I'm not sure that they care for me. Of course, over time, I've grown to love and respect a lot of those guys. I have so many friends from that institution that I can call today. And I'm blessed for that because, and remember, when you start out in this field, you're not always going to have friends. Personalities clash, things happen. But over time, if you're a mature adult, things get better. Okay. So always remember that. But anyway, I would be screaming, I'm the dominant one. I'm the dominant one. This was every day, every morning in the case. Excuse me, I didn't say I was the dominant one. I said, let's dominate. Let's dominate. Let's do this. So we could hype ourselves up for a good case. And a lot of times we would kick butt and we would start to build our chemistry and the case would go a lot better because we start knowing each other. We start caring about each other. And that's what happens on the surgical field. Once you're at a place for a long time, you start building camaraderie and friendships and stuff like that. That's why I always emphasize that, not to talk about people, to be high vibration, to care about people because we don't know their stories. We don't know what people are going through. And once you get to know somebody, you realize that they're not as bad as you initially think, especially with me because I go into these places and I think a lot of people think that I'm arrogant or I'm cocky and all those things, the things that I resent and I don't like because those are negative things. They just don't know me. I carry myself in a way because I've been through a lot and I've seen a lot and I know what I'm doing on the surgical field. So if I carry myself in a way that shows that, that's all it is. But again, I'm sorry, I digress. Back to I would say every day that I'm the excuse me, I keep saying that we're gonna dominate this case. So one day, early in the morning, I got there early because I think I was on a robotic neo bladder or something like that. So a big case where we start with the robot and then we break the robot down and complete the case open. With Dr. Kudakov, who I feel is a legend in this game. If anybody know Dr. Alexander Kudakov, then y'all know about him and how legendary he is, one of the best urologists in the world. Look him up. You ever have any issues, you have any problems, look him up. Look him up, Mark Smaldone. There's so many, Robert Uzo, so many great urologists at Fox Chase Cancer Center who will help you out and take great care of you. And Fox Chase as a whole is great at patient care. So shout out to Fox Chase Cancer Center. I got a lot of love for them. But so anyway, in the morning I came in and I was getting dressed and our locker room is right next to the lounge. And I could hear a couple of nurses. This was early. I could hear a couple of nurses in the room. One was named Mary Gross, who I worked with in the big cases a lot. Me and her was doing in a lot of rooms, doing a lot of cases together at those times. Mary Gross, rest in peace to Mary Gross. I loved her a lot. Just a passionate person, great nurse, and she is missed truly. But anyway, she was talking to another nurse, and I think it was Jen. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I remember hearing the Jen or whoever it was ask Mary who she was working with that day, and in that case, and she said, "Oh, I'm working with the dominant one, John Budd." And I remember hearing this, and and I heard Jen laugh. She was like, "Why you call him that?" Because she said, because he always screaming, "Diamond this, diamond that, diamond this." So it was very funny. But I remember stopping, putting on my clothes, and it kind of hit me, and I was like, "Damn, the dominant one." This is a true story. And I said, "Damn, that's a fly name." And that's when I adopted the name. I didn't name it myself per se, but I took the name and I ran with it. What's important for you guys to know is that that name transcended my life, helped me transcend and upgrade my life. Because as I told you guys earlier, I was struggling a lot with personal demons. I was up against a monster who never got tired. He was relentless. He didn't whisper in my ear. He whispered in my heart. He knew all the things that I wanted. He knew my dreams and my goals. So he would always make me feel like on the other side of whatever I was doing, like the next time that I would drink would be the best time, even though I knew in my heart it would be another worse time. But that's how it was. So when I became the dominant one, when I adopted that name, I'll never forget a situation. I was at, I was out again for a week. I think I had disappeared for a week. I was drinking and partying, and I was over some female house, and I remember calling out, and I just wasn't myself. Again, I was in my vicious cycle, and I got home, and again, I fell down. I think this was a shower incident. Well, I had many shower incidents, but I was crying in the shower, crying out. Again, I told you guys that I rarely cry, but I was crying out for help. And I was just so completely overwhelmed by this monster. I remember the sadness. I remember how hurt I was because I'm a high achiever. I always tell you guys that I'm a high achiever. Even, like I said, the 2 weeks that I was crying out, there was other 2 weeks that I was making shit happen. And the 2 weeks that I was making shit happen is ultimately has led to where I'm at today, where I'm doing all these things and all these positive things, and I've given up all that bad stuff. But I was struggling at that time, and I was in my vicious cycle. And I remember as I got up off the floor, I got out of the shower. Um, you know how they got the mist on the glass. I remember wiping the glass, and I looked in the mirror and I said, "Today is the day that I stopped all this shit. Today is the day I start dominating. I'm the dominant one. I'm the dominant one." From that moment forward, I would always call myself the dominant one. And anybody who's been following me for years, I had to change my Facebook page and my Instagram stuff a couple years ago. Ironically, when I had visited San Diego, I had got hacked like 3 years ago. I forget how long ago it was, but I had to change. I lost a lot of friends and a lot of followers. Like I had thousands and thousands of followers or whatever. But at the time, I had to change it, um, change the page. But if you guys who were following me, who still were following me even back then, you know that I would always put at the end of my statuses or my posts, John Budd, baby, the dominant one. John Budd, baby, the dominant one, for real. I would always try to give positive anecdotes or positive stories, or I would tell you what was going on. I was erratic back then because I was struggling so much with my mental health. So a lot of times I would go up and down. Anybody who knows me knows that I go up and down. I don't go as much anymore because I don't make the same decisions. I don't drink anymore and stuff like that. Because no matter how much or how little I did, I would always be depressed for a long time after I did it. So if you guys are struggling with anything in your life, whether it's gambling, sex, any kind of addiction, um, drugs, whatever it is, if it bothers you, it's contrary to your spirit. No matter how much you do or how less you do, how few you do, if it's bothering your spirit, then you know that it's something that you shouldn't be doing. So eventually, over the years, I would call myself the dominant one. And one thing about the universe, God, source, or whatever you want to call them, once you start saying certain things, that's why I say that I lied until my lies became my truth, because I would lie so much about how I was feeling. I would call myself the dominant one, and I would walk down the hall with this attitude like nothing could stop me and nothing could beat me, even though I was in turmoil in my personal life. I told you guys a lot in previous episodes that I would be in work and I would excel at work because that was a place that I was safe from the alcoholism because I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing anything that would hurt my patients at work. So I would always excel. I would always feel good about myself. But at home, I was crashing and burning. I just couldn't figure out a way how to stop the repetitive things that I was doing. I just couldn't beat my enemy at those times. But when I start calling myself the dominant one, if you know anything about Source, you know that he'll start lining you up with situations that you can start to dominate, that you can start to overcome. So if you tell yourself that you're the best, even though you don't feel the best, if you tell yourself that enough over the years and over time, you'll start feeling like you're the best. And then Source God will start giving you opportunities to be better than, the best it, to overcome, to conquer it. So then your nervous system and your body will start getting used to winning. That's why I always tell you guys to calm your nervous system down. Because if you calm your nervous system down, if you get out of fight or flight, you'll start making better decisions and you'll improve your life. I am living proof. I am living proof. Like, I don't get all crazy. Like yesterday, I lost my phone. It was a time when I would have flipped out over that. I just said, I'm going to stay calm. It's cool. I calmed my nervous. I didn't let it bother me. I said it could be worse. I could be dead. Anything. This was during this rain. It was raining like crazy out here. Somebody had got into I thought somebody went into my car and took it because I was at Save-A-Lot. And I had my headphones on and my headphones went down. I'm like, damn, I must have left the phone in the car and I forgot to lock the car. It's San Diego. So when I got back to the car, the phone was gone. And so I thought somebody went into the phone and stole it. Long story short, I eventually found somebody dropped the phone off at Aldi's, and that's baseline for San Diego. I'm like, people don't really do that out here. I'm sure it happens, but I never feel really threatened out here. That people are so kind-hearted. Well, anyway, I say that to say that I kept my nervous system calm. I didn't care. I don't put anything over my mental health anymore. Fuck the phone. If the phone gone, it's gone. I'm gonna get another phone tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I encourage you guys to find any kind of little antidote that's gonna help you navigate through hard times, even if it's a lie. Because remember when you were children, we would lie about certain things, and we lied about it so much that it became a truth in our minds. That's how life works. It doesn't necessarily have to be true. Your self-talk doesn't have to necessarily have to be true when you initially started, but over time, God will give you opportunities to make it come true. So, through the course of the years, as I was calling myself the dominant one and stuff like that, I started excelling. I started excelling at a lot of things. I started taking the shots. So I would always think about businesses. I always wanted to do businesses. I always wanted to do charitable things. I always wanted to, and even in the midst of me struggling with my addictions and all that stuff, I still was a nice and good person to a point. Like if you push me or you did, and even to the day, if you push me, if you play with me, you'll find out very quickly that I'm not somebody to play with. That's never going to change. I've been through too much. Y'all think I went through prison, Philly, the underbelly of Philly, all the things that I went through because I'm a bitch or I'm scared or I'm a coward? I'm not. I'm not any of those things. I'm a kind-hearted person, but I can handle my business when necessary. And anybody who knows me knows this is facts. So I prefer kindness, but I can do it any way they want to do it. So over the years, if you continue to tell yourself things that's positive, you're planting seeds that's going to allow you to overcome some of the dark things that you go through. So lie until your lies become your truth. Lie until your lies become your truth. Don't ever give up on yourself. And if you're in healthcare and you're struggling with, especially like if you're a scrub and you're going through things on the surgical field or anything in life. I don't even want to just say, because like I said, healthcare is a microcosm of what goes on in real life. I just encourage everybody to do a couple of things. Be kind-hearted at baseline. If you need to lie to yourself because you're important. You're important. You have to learn how to be selfish for yourself. They've taught us that selfishness is bad. They say, "Oh, he's selfish. He's selfish." But when you're overly giving and you're not giving to yourself, you destroy yourself. I've done it. I feel like I've been a simp over the years. I'm giving people stuff. Those people don't even call me. Those people don't check on me. Those people don't care nothing about me, and that's okay. I'm not even saying that in a bad way to criticize them, because ultimately everything was on me. My behaviors were on me. If I gave somebody something and they didn't thank me, or if I gave somebody something and they talk behind my back, ultimately that becomes on me. So going forward, I adopted and I said this recently, is that my discernment has to be better on how I treat people, because a lot of times we'll go through life and we so concerned about what people think about us, but the only thing that matters is what you think about yourself. So build yourself up. Stop giving to people who don't give to you. Lie to yourself until your lies become your truth. You're worthy of everything, but you have to be good to people too. A lot of us, we always talk, and I see this on social media all the time, about how somebody did somebody wrong. Like, we're always screaming about how somebody did us. Most of us are very ignorant to the fact that we've done things too. And the only way to get better in this life, the only way to improve, whether you're at work, whether you're in a walk of life, any walk of life, is to have accountability, to know that you're the problem too. And then once I start adopting that, once I start, then my discernment got better. So I said, I'm not going to do for these people. I'm not going to do that for them. That's not saying I got any beef with them. I'll still speak to them and be cordial to them. But I basically keep it moving, because at the end of the day, my behavior towards myself is important. So if I'm pouring into people who don't care for me, who don't love me, who don't like me, who talk behind my back, whether they know me or not, if you're talking behind my back and you don't know me, that's even worse. That's an indictment on you. So we need to look in the mirror and say, how can we get better? What makes us better? What will lead us to a better life? So I always say, plant good seeds. That means being good to people. And being good to people sometimes is mean not talking to them. Is not dealing with them. They're not people. They're not your people. That don't mean that you got shit on them. It just means that you stay away from them. You be cordial and you walk away. That's my game. And everything that I've accomplished in my life, I accomplished because especially now, is because I behave better. I put myself first. I'm selfish about me. I want you guys to be selfish about yourselves, because if you're selfish about yourself, if you pour some love into yourself, you'll become more loving to others. You'll start seeing people. Like, I walk in a room and I know right away how the energy is. I've always had that ability, but I used to hide from it. I used to run from it, because I didn't want to think that I was special or anything like that, because that felt bad. Because again, we're taught to think that if we're special, if we think that we're better, and it's not about being better, but that's the way they teach you, that, oh, you think you're better than somebody. You just see things differently. You see things a little more quickly than others. Then over the years, you probably don't accept that what you're seeing. But with time, with growth, with self-love, you'll start seeing people for what they are. It's a lot of ugly people out here. But I used to be ugly too. So, like I said, when I was coming up through Fox Chase, me becoming the dominant one, calling myself the dominant one, it basically led to me saving my life. Because I got up off that floor one day, and although I still struggled for years and years and years after saying that name and adopting it, it gave me a lifeline. We all need a lifeline when we're struggling in the dark. When we're struggling in the dark, we need something to hold on to. We need something to believe in. So when I was intermittently, when I was doing the dominant things, and when I was overcoming obstacles and all that stuff, it gave me hope. It gave me the ability. And now today, as I sit here in front of you guys in San Diego, I don't need the hope no more. I don't need any signs. I used to see a lot of signs like numbers 1111 and all that stuff, signs from source to say that I'm something special, that I'm a do good things and big things in this life. And I used to look for those signs and I would hold on to those signs, but I don't need the signs anymore, because I am the sign. So in closing, I'm going to say to you guys that you're the sign too. That if you continue to pour into yourself, if you feed your seed, you will build a tree, you'll grow a tree that you can sit under, and the shade will protect you from those who are hateful and those who are out to get you, or those who don't understand, because we all have a journey. So who's messed up today could be a lifesaver tomorrow. They may be messed up today, but as they grow, They could be somebody's lifesaver tomorrow. We all have testimonies. That's why I share my testimony with you, because even back in the day when I was struggling, I always tried to be good to people. But my testimonies gave me the ability to talk to you guys and to share things with you guys in the hopes that you don't have to go through those things either. I don't care what they say about me. When they bury me, I will be honored and I will be remembered, because people will come out of the woodwork and they'll tell you all the things that I did for them when they were struggling, and all the things that I don't talk about those things. I don't say that I did this to Bob, or I did this for Leroy or Tanya or whatever. I just say that I try to be a good person. Even when I was struggling in the dark, the only problem back then was I was being good to people who weren't worthy of that. That's why I always say that it's important to have discernment. So in closing, I just want to say one more time: find something to hold on to, find a lifeline. You know, find a way to overcome the struggles that you're having. Believe in yourself even a little bit. Set small goals for yourself. Call yourself a name. And over the years, I know people used to laugh at me when I would say that I was a dominant one, and I would say, all these things, and the things that I was saying on social media and stuff. Excuse me. But those things, they saved my life. If you check the links, if you look back over the links in the chain of your life, you'll find out why you are exactly where you are today. Today, you have a chance to change the links. You can strengthen it, or you can weaken it, or continue to add links to it that's the same old links. You can strengthen your life, and you can improve your life by better decision making. If you drink too much, drink less. I'm not going to tell you to stop. If you're doing too much drugs, do less. Find a way to overcome it. If you're gambling, $100, do 80. Over time, those things that teach you how to be victorious, that teach you how to be a winner. Your nervous system needs to know that you're a winner. Everything I do, I expect to win at. Everything I do, I expect to win. That doesn't mean that I think I'm better than, because nobody else is in the equation. That's another myth that, we do things because we want to show up other people. I don't do shit for other people. I do it for me. I do it for me, to big up myself, to feel good about myself, to love myself. That way I can attract loving people into my life. So we clear out all the bullshit, and we clear out all the people who don't belong in our lives, and then we improve. I'm alone all the time. I hang with my son. My son is my very best friend. Otherwise, my life is dolo. I'm solo all the time. Very few people check on me. Shout out to the ones that do it. I have so much love for you, like Michelle, Meacham, and LaShawn Scott, and Pretty Brown Eyes. You know who you are. So many people, the people who do, like Lisa Williams. I appreciate those people so much because they're my people. But I'm clearing out the nonsense, and I want you guys to do the same. All right? Cool. John Bud, baby. John Bud, baby. The dominant one. For real. I don't say it as much as I used to because I don't have to. It's in me. It ain't on me. So, team, hopefully next week I'll have a guest on, have a couple of options. So I'm gonna reach out to them after this episode and see who wants to come on and talk about life and talk about life inside and outside of healthcare. Until then, I hope you guys keep it savvy. Until then, I hope you guys know that I love you, I care for you, and that a lot of the things that I do for you, a lot of the things that I share with you is to encourage you and to guide you and to help in the hopes that you'll make better decisions that'll lead to a better life, decisions that'll lead to happiness or peace, which is better than happiness. All right? So let's keep it savvy. Take care.